Hello, Anson Garcia here, and today I'll be taking you through the iPad Spark overview. This is for Verizon employees only, and it's a talk that we had June 1st on our CC briefing call. Yes, I think I have a different way of explaining it, and hopefully this will be a little bit more helpful to you. So let's get started. What is Spark? I'm going to let you pause this and read that if you'd like. Let's go into the agenda. So I'm going to break this up into 4 pieces. We're going to do teams and spaces first, and these will be 4 videos as well, smaller portion videos or smaller timed videos. And part 2 would be Verizon login. That should be a short one, hopefully. And in part 3, this is going to kind of go over the Spark iPad UI. We're going to do some demos. We're going to take a look at what we've learned from part 1 and part 2. And then we'll look at notifications as well on that part, on part 3. And then part 4, we'll do some meetings and we'll do some meeting demos. We'll learn all about meetings and WebEx meetings, advanced meetings, basic meetings, how to start a meeting, how to schedule a meeting inside Spark, and do all that kind of cool stuff. So, okay, what are Teams, Spaces, one-to-one chat, group spaces, and what's all this stuff about? So hopefully, through this explanation, you'll get a little bit better view of what it's about. So I've broken this up into 2 categories. The first category is the instant messaging stuff. So I've kind of categorized this under instant messaging because it's kind of something that we understand. We understand Jabber, and we used to use same time, things like that. So we understand these things. So there are different kind of chats, spaces, group ways to communicate inside Spark. And one of those ways is a one-to-one chat right here. So not too difficult. One-to-one chat. Just like Jabber, I hunt for somebody in my directory and I click and I instant message them. Very similar in Spark. Okay, very similar when you do a one-to-one chat. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at is a group space. Well, this is kind of like if you've ever done a group chat in Jabber, it's very similar. Okay, so that's where I would look up a few folks in the directory and I would kind of add them to the group chat. Very similar in Spark, except you're adding them to a space, and I like to call it group space, but it's called a space inside Spark. So unlike the one-to-one chat, the group chat is called a space. All right, now hang on to that just a second, and there's a reason it's called a space. So the instant messaging stuff, let's put that away. So we kind of know that, we understand that. We can kind of take what we've learned in the instant messaging world and apply our knowledge to one-to-one chat and group space, aka group chat, and it makes sense to us. What people have trouble understanding is the business messaging stuff. So if you haven't used or been an avid user of Slack or HipChat or River or Microsoft Teams, this kind of categorized channels and teams and spaces thing just doesn't make any sense to you at first. But you have to remember that this is made, this business messaging craze that Slack started is centered around projects, macro projects and micro projects, and getting stuff done, getting a project done, completing a project. It doesn't center around instant messaging. Instant messaging is different, although we can do instant messaging inside business messaging applications like Spark, Slack, Microsoft Teams, although they have that in there. That's not their main thing that they were created for. So we have these other things inside Spark called Teams and Team Spaces. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So first, the business messaging stuff called Teams. All right, so Teams helps you keep everything organized by categorizing multiple spaces under a common theme. In other words, there's some kind of hierarchy here, teams, and there's something categorized underneath it. But it's common to the team. And then team spaces are groups of people collaborating on a specific topic, and that's very important because people get confused and start creating spaces for nothing, because they want a group chat or something like that. But they're specifically made for specific topics, or a single project within a project. Okay, or I should say a project within a team. So just quickly, just think of team kind of equaling a project. And then think of a space equaling a micro project underneath, under a team, or aka project, right? So think of team as a bunch of folks on a particular big project, big team. Think of a space as being under that team, or I want to call it team space, okay? Because we're not talking about this kind of space over here, but think of it as team space. A team space is a micro project under a big project. Okay, maybe you have a project team to build a building, and there's spaces underneath. There's micro projects under the building, the project building, for facilities wiring, for electricians, for framers, for things like that. And those would be different spaces that those guys could collaborate in. Okay, so they're part of a bigger project. Okay, think of it that way. So let's whiteboard this out just so we understand it a little bit more. So I won't go through the instant messaging stuff, the one-to-one chat and the group chat, or I call it a group space. Okay, outside of Teams completely. Doesn't have anything to do with Teams. We're just going to talk about Teams right now. So I have a team. Underneath a team are spaces. Okay? Let's draw that a different way. I used a building analogy. So I have a team. Building project. Right? There's a bunch of folks in that team. Let's call them person 1, person 2, person 3. These are basically everybody that's involved with building this building. Okay, everybody. And now underneath there, I have a electrician space. I have a plumbing space. I have a framer space. Okay, and then some of these team members are going to be inside of these spaces, or included, or join those spaces because they're relevant to their job. So they want to communicate, they want to send they want to send messages, they want to get notification when there's a message in one of those spaces and things like that, because they are relevant to their particular job. Now with the electrician guy, let's say the electrician guy is person number 3 right here. So he's part of this space. Will he join this space over here, the framer? Probably, in our scenario, let's say no. So he won't be part of that space. The plumber probably won't be part of that space either. So different people will join different spaces, or can be put in different spaces by a moderator, so they can get updates and things like that for what's going on. And just think of all these spaces under this building project team as little breakout group chats where you can share files and chat and screen share and have meetings and things like that. So kind of think of it that way. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better. All right. So let's go back to our presentation, and I'm going to go to this next slide. This is the original slide that I had that everyone got confused on. So hopefully, if you don't have it yet, I'd go back and just kind of look at the whiteboard and look at my prior slide. Okay? Because if you don't get it yet, this is probably going to mess you up even more. I'm going to go over teams and spaces again in a little bit different way. So teams help you keep everything organized by categorizing multiple spaces under a common theme. Okay, we saw that when we had the building team, and we had electricians and plumbers and framers underneath there. So those are kind of micro things. We kind of categorize them. They're all under the building team. Now maybe I'm building several buildings. I'm building a church and I'm building a shopping center. Well, those would be two different teams that I have. And then maybe I have framers, space and plumber space under each of those higher teams. And there could be some people that go back and forth in those teams, but probably some different people. I probably have different trades that are doing the church, whether it be electricians, a different set of electricians and plumbers and things doing the church, than I have. Maybe I'm running both projects together, and that I'm having on the shopping center. So let's go through a couple of these bullets here. Teams are the top of the hierarchy. We saw that. No problem. We can visually see that in the prior whiteboard session. And then teams are comprised of team members, obviously. Okay, team members are comprised of moderators and participants. Yeah, people that are in charge of the team, and can add people to the team and things like that, and kick people out of the team. And then there's participants that are comprised of folks inside your company or outside your company. So you can have people in your Spark domain or in someone else's Spark domain, or they have this free Spark account from Cisco. So they can all participate in your teams, and they all can participate under the spaces also. Okay? So spaces are groups of people collaborating on a specific topic. Hey, like electricians or plumbers, a bunch of plumbers. They would be collaborating on a specific topic. They're not talking about electrical work or anything like that. So you want a space for them to collaborate, a little group chat for them to collaborate under your bigger project. And inside teams, you can have spaces. Okay, we kind of learned that already. And spaces are like rooms. What can you do in a room where you can share files, you can talk, you can do things like that. You can leave documentation, and you can chat. And then in this virtual world, we can call each other and have meetings and video meetings and things like that inside spaces as well. And then every team created, I haven't gone over this yet, but every team created just has an automatic space created underneath it named general. We'll call it the general room. Maybe when you're building a building, the electricians and plumbers and framers, they're all part of their space, and they're only communicating with each other, but everyone's part of the general team, or excuse me, general space. So whenever I post something in general, they'll all get an indication, a visual indicator or a audible indicator in their Spark application, and say, oh, maybe I need to pay attention to this space or this message posted by the superintendent. Okay, and then every team member is automatically a member of the general space. I think I went over that. And any team member can create spaces as well. So if you're a member of the team building church or church building, you can create other spaces. So maybe I'm an electrician and I'm under the team church building, and I'm obviously in the general space, right? Because I'm part of the team. And then maybe the team moderator created a space named electrician. So, but I have some electricians that are going to do the alarm system, and they really don't have anything to do with running AC, power or anything like that. So maybe I create another space for electrician alarm guys or something like that. So I can create as a team member, I can create another space, and then I can add those alarm guys to that particular space. And then they can do their thing and they can communicate back and forth and things like that. Okay, we went over that. And any team member can join a space created by another team member. Yeah. So since the team members are under the church project, if anybody creates any spaces underneath the church building team, any one of the team members can go join. So if I'm a plumber and hey, I want to keep in touch with the electricians because there's something going on in the bathrooms and I need to see when they're finished. So I want to join their space to just kind of keep my ear to the ground on what they're doing and what they're communicating and what things are going on in that space. I can certainly do that. Similarly, the electricians that are part of the team and communicating in the electric space, they can join my space, the plumber space, if they want to. They don't have to, but they can. And then they'll get visual indications, when things are going on inside my space, when there's a meeting going on, or we're texting back and forth, or instant messaging, or whatever you want to call it. So that is basically the gist of teams and spaces. Let me go back now to group spaces. Remember, I grouped these over here in this PowerPoint right here. I grouped the group space underneath instant messaging stuff just so we could get our mind around it. The one-to-one chat and the group space, to me anyway, is more akin to instant messaging. It's normal. I understood it very well. One-to-one chat, okay, that's like Jabber, or same time group chat or group space, that's like inviting a few people and chatting together. I get that. Teams and spaces is different. All right. So I just wanted to go over that real quick before I tell you that. Let me get that out of the way because that really is not relevant. And let me get that out of the way because that's not relevant. You can add a standalone space to a team so that the team members can join the space. What is that all about? All I'm saying here is, let's whiteboard this out. We had the church building team. Remember. And then we had some spaces under there. The electricians, we had the framer space, and we had who do we have? The plumber space, right? Okay. And then just say, for example, I just created a group chat with a couple of people. And this group chat, I don't know, I named it, info on alarms. Okay, I don't know. That's just I just made that name up. And then I added a few people to that. Let's say alarm guy 1 and alarm guy 2. Okay, and I was chatting with these guys. I was discussing some things about the alarm system. Maybe they were engineers or something that devised or created this alarm system. And I get so down the road there in this particular space here, or this little group space is what it is. Has nothing to do with any teams or spaces or team spaces or anything like that. It's outside of that. Okay, but we upload some files, like maybe some alarm manuals, maybe some alarm wiring documentation. Maybe we even do some whiteboard sessions on how to wire these particular fire alarms. So there's some information in this, I'm going to call it group space, that would be relevant to my church building team because that's where we're going to put these alarms. So, man, instead of having to go into my a church building team and somehow create a space down here and then go download these files that I had over here in this group chat and then somehow transfer them over here, I can, let me erase this right here. I can just move this particular group space. I can take that group space with those folks in it and all that messaging and files and things like that and move it underneath my church building team. And I can rename it. Maybe I name it, alarms. Right? And those guys come over with it too. Alarm guy 1 and alarm 2. Those 2 guys are part of that space. And now all the people that are part of this team can see that space. Remember, they weren't able to, because it was kind of outside. It was out here by itself before. Outside kind of there was nothing connecting these 2 together. So it's just a group chat I had with someone else. But I can move that over here. And now all these folks inside this team can say, oh, there's a new space created called alarms. And, I'm going to be doing some wiring for those alarms. So let me go in that space. And someone told me there's some manuals in there or some wiring diagrams. And I can go look at those and grab those. Okay? So hopefully that has kind of given you some information and helped you to understand some team spaces, one-on-one chats, and group chats. Thanks for watching.